up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's Shady here, and today we are going to be talking about Emily in Paris. This is season 4 part 2. If you'd like to hear what I had to say with regards to my recap and thoughts on part 1, I'll link that video in the corner here for you guys to watch if you want to watch that first and then come back to this one. But today we're going to be talking about part 2 and everything that has transpired that I think is very interesting. We're not going to talk about every little thing that happened throughout the episodes, but I'm specifically going to kind of target the main points. So in the beginning, we see that Emily is heading to Chicago for Christmas. She's going to be spending her Christmas there with her family, and Camille and Gabrielle are heading to Camille's parents' house for the holidays. So Camille, you could tell she still hasn't really told Gabriel about the false positive, that she was never really pregnant. We found that out in part 1, and you could see on her face that she was very devastated, but she was even more devastated that she would have to tell Gabrielle soon and that he wouldn't be treating her like this special person in his life anymore. She would just be kind of like any other friend to him now. So she decides not to really tell him just yet. She wants to see how things work out with them while being alone with him, since it seems as though Emily isn't going to be there. However, Emily's flight to Chicago ends up getting canceled. She calls Gabrielle, Camille's parents, overhear his conversation, and the dad is just like, yeah, Emily, you could spend Christmas with us. And you could see that Camille and Camille's mom are just looking at him like, why would you do that? Like, we're trying to get Camille and Gabrielle back together, okay? Like, why would you bring Emily in? Like, that is a complication. So Emily ends up making her way over to their house, and they end up going skiing, and Gabrielle is way more focused on Camille than his actual girlfriend Emily. You'll clearly see that was the case because Camille to Gabrielle was still pregnant, but even though she really wasn't, but you know, she was kind of refraining from telling him that information. So he's thinking that she's still pregnant. He wants to protect her, make sure she's good. But basically in that process of doing so, he completely abandons Emily on top of the hill, and she doesn't even know how to ski. So that's when we bring in Marcello, okay? Marcello is the new guy on the block. He helps Emily down, and that's when Emily basically approaches Gabrielle about the whole situation of being abandoned on the top of the hill. And she's just like, you know what, I'm never going to be as important to you as Camille is because she's having your child. So I'm done with this relationship. I'm over it. I'm leaving. And she ended up leaving, I think, that night or the next day. And the minute she comes back to Paris, she ends up running into Alfie, believe it or not, and he's telling her about his new girlfriend. And you could see all over her face, because before she found that out, she was trying to invite him to a party. Yeah, so you could see she was like, oh wow, you know, congratulations. But in the back of her mind, she was like, dang. I don't really catch the vibe that she felt as though she missed out, but she kind of feels bad that she kind of left a good relationship with Alfie for things to not work out with Gabrielle, you know? So obviously she would feel bad. But in that moment, she ends up getting really emotional, but it starts to snow, and Gabrielle had told her earlier that if it snows in Paris, it means good luck. So she thought, you know, maybe this is new beginnings, right? So back at Camille's parents' house, or their vacation home or whatever, Camille basically tries to make a move on Gabrielle now that he's not with Emily anymore. Shortly after, she finally tells him that she wasn't pregnant and also that she wanted to try and adopt a child. Gabrielle was like, yeah, no, we deserve to be with people that we actually love. So I was like, yeah, I'm with you on that, Gabrielle, because I feel as though with Camille, it just didn't really seem like they were actually in love at any point, really. Like, they were just together to be together. But anyways, so Gabrielle ends up going back to Paris. Because him and Emily live in the same building, they do occasionally run into each other, and it is very awkward. But then one day, Camille ends up taking him to go to lunch. So Emily thinks that they're now together, but they actually aren't. They're just really good friends. Mindy is still with Nicholas at this point, and that's how Emily ends up reconnecting with Marcello at some type of polo event. So she was just taking that as a sign, like, maybe this is my new beginning, you know? So during this time, we find out that Sylvie's slimy little stepdaughter, Genevieve, is looking for work in Paris, and she ends up having to hire her. So Genevieve comes in, and Emily already connects with her. You know, they're both American, whatnot. So they seem to be starting to build a little bit of a rapport with each other. Genevieve, in my opinion, this is kind of why I called her slimy, because she started causing more trouble between Emily and Gabrielle, because we find out that she just wanted Gabrielle for herself. But when they were at Gabrielle's restaurant trying to do this interview, you could see that, you know, Gabrielle was really flustered still about the whole breakup between him and Emily. And he also was very frustrated that Emily never tried to learn French and never tried to communicate with him in his language of French. So that's when Genevieve claimed that she was like overhearing and listening to what they were saying, and she tried to translate for Emily, but she neglected to say a lot of what Gabrielle was saying in French to her, and she just kind of made up a lot of stuff and was like, yeah, he doesn't want to see you anymore, ever. And it was like, that's not what he said. You are slimy. You're a snake, okay? I'm gathering you're a snake. From that moment on, I did not trust that girl. After that is when we see Genevieve hanging out with Gabrielle at his restaurant, like late at night, and Emily was like, girl, what are you doing? Basically, you know, like, what is this? Even if he's my ex-man, why are you trying to get close to him? That's the question. Marcello, we find out, is the heir to one of the most sought after cashmere companies in Europe, but is based in Italy. And after things get even more tense and awkward between Emily and Gabrielle, she decides to just go to Italy and meet up with Marcello. So Genevieve, you know, she takes that as an opportunity to not only swoop in on Gabrielle, but also tries to take Emily's desk and or job. Okay, it started off with just sitting at her desk. I think really and truly she wanted to try and take Emily's job. But her friends in the office were not having that. They were like, girl, get up. Why are you at Emily's desk? Okay, and I'm like, yes, I need friends like that, because Genevieve is a snake. Those are the type of friends you need. Luke and Julianne, you need in your life, okay? Those are the friends. They'll have your back. Sylvie, shortly after Emily makes her way over to Italy, she finds out that Emily's over there, and Sylvie just decides to show up, and she ruins everything that Emily had going with Marcello, because now Marcello is thinking that she was just there to take his family's company on as a client. But she actually does end up getting them as a client regardless, even after she tried to convince him otherwise. She actually does end up working for the company, so I thought that was ironic. But anyways, but after all of that, Mindy ends up breaking up with Nicholas because she ended up getting a lot closer to her bandmate slash ex-boyfriend than she wanted to for a photo op for like Eurovision, whatever they were doing. And it definitely was not a good look, considering that Nicholas was going through all of this stuff with the House of DeLeon and their fashion house, the struggle for power, because there was now so much attention on their dad for doing all that creepy stuff. So now they're trying to figure out like who the company was going to be led by, like who was going to take up that mantle for their dad. Nicholas was like, yeah, you're making me look bad, and also if you want to do the whole singing thing, you know, you don't have to do all of this. So that's when Mindy was like, yeah, no, I want to do Eurovision, I want to do all this stuff, so if that's a problem, you know, we're just gonna have to end this. And I do think in that moment they end up breaking up, but I can't quite remember. But she walks away and it's all emotional. So now that Mindy's having issues with that relationship, she decides to call Emily up and it's just like, listen, I need to come to Italy, I need a break. Okay, so she just ends up going to Emily's hotel, and Emily's also having a tough night. So yeah, they pretty much just meet up, and then eventually they go out, and Mindy has this song that goes completely viral, just playing this random piano in this square in Italy. Now that we find out that Emily is working for Marcello's family's company, Sylvie now makes her the lead on that particular contract with this company. So now Emily is living in Italy, and of course, because she's living in Italy and she's working for Marcello's company, naturally they're still, you know, they're enjoying their time together. Let's just say that. But back in Paris, Mindy goes back. She ends up coming across Gabrielle and Alfie. And that's when Mindy tells both of them that Emily had actually moved to Italy, and Alfie ends up giving Gabrielle this little pep talk. Even though they both seemed to be kind of depressed about Emily moving, it seemed like Gabrielle was way more depressed because Alfie seemed to have been in a whole other relationship, so he should be good, but you could see that he was still kind of in love with Emily, but he was trying to use this new relationship as a means to move on. That's the vibe that I was getting. But either way, Gabrielle is you know, he clearly is just like, you know, losing his mind. Gabrielle then asks Mindy for the address of Emily's apartment, but I honestly hope that she doesn't give it to him. Like, she just gives him some random address that's just the wrong one so they could throw him off and that he never finds Emily. I hope that Marcello just, you know, proposes and she gets married and starts living in Italy and completely forgets about Gabrielle, because she deserves better in my opinion. Even though Emily is all over the place and seems very helter-skelter, I think that she deserves a lot better than Gabrielle. But I'm very curious to see if Gabrielle does end up going all the way, going to find Emily. Because y'all remember, I forgot to bring up this one moment. Y'all remember when I said that Gabrielle feels like a ways about Emily never trying to learn French? So apparently, okay, Gabrielle found out that he was finally going to be getting a real Michelin star. And shortly after that, Emily finds out and Emily sends him like a voice message in French. And I'm like, well, at least she's trying, but at this point, she's with Marcello in Italy, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, whatever at this point. So she did try, right? But the thing is, it's like, how would she have known that this was an issue with you, Gabrielle, if you never brought this up? You never told her. So it's baffling to me. Like, all you would do is speak to her in English. Like, so why not like communicate with her that you want to speak in French? Anyway, that's the weird part to me, but I hope Mindy doesn't tell him anything because Gabrielle needs to go away. Honestly, for you to leave your girlfriend on top of a hill and for her to just get swooped up by another man, you deserve this. You deserve this. But y'all let me know what your thoughts are on part 2 down in the comments. And also what you think what might happen in season 5. I'm very curious. I'm very curious. So they need to speed up the episodes, okay? But let me know. Let me know. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.